What's up, everyone? Happy Thursday, January 4th. Broadcasting to you live from Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. No, we're not. Unless we're on a Tor open source browser. A Tor onion router browser. Blake, do you have a Tor onion router browser? So that you can hide where you are and say you're from Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia?
You just use a VPN anywhere and just bring your Elon satellite with you. I guess you could.
I think so, right?
I suppose. I don't know if they've known for their fiber optic high-speed internet there, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a lovely place.
Yes, perhaps. But thank you to everybody for joining our program today. It's going to be a doozy. And why is it going to be a doozy? Because the Epstein blackmail documents have finally dropped. Like the undescended testicles of a youngster, it is dropped right onto the face of America. Sorry for that visual. That was just awful. When I just the descending, the dropping. I don't know. Anyway, okay, moving on.
All right, off the rails. All right.
Totally off the rails. But I do have a story about a guy that we know that had one that didn't drop, and it was just like a whole running joke, but I won't bore you with that. But I frightened myself with the vivid nature of that setup, so I apologize. But, look, it really is dropping a heaping pile of garbage onto the American public. I mean, a long time coming. This has taken way too long for this intelligence asset information drop to occur. And there are still a couple of holdouts. We'll get into that on today's program. And there's so many different angles to cover on that. We're going to ask about the feds. What are they hiding some of this evidence? It kind of seems that way. We're also going to ask, what would the deep state do to distract us from this? All right, we'll dig into that. Could they go the ultimate route? Yeah, I think they could. But do the Democrats only care about one thing in this list? Aside from them making up most of the list, is there only one thing they cared about? We'll talk about that. Also, should somebody get sued for defamation because their chef had links to this person allegedly on video? We'll talk about that. That's a sports story. Blake slid in an Ohio State story. We might talk about that. I don't know. Anything he can do to bash the Buckeyes. Jeez. A bit of a
just to mess with you, Brian. Yes,
a bit of a jealous Big Tenor from the Minnesota Golden Gopher land, eh? We'll talk about that,
right?
And we're also going to talk about impeachment. Okay, yes, we know Harris and Biden should be impeached, of course, for their dereliction of duty and treason at the southern border. But what about the Secretary Mayorkas? He probably doesn't deserve the impeachment treatment, right? We'll talk about that. Also, I mean, this could easily be another one of the top stories of the day. Ray Epps, the face of insurrection. Of course, it was nothing near insurrection, and that should be mocked and ridiculed into existence. Anyone who repeats those lines should just be loudly laughed at into their face and say, I'm sorry, you mean the people who are the most gun-toting people on earth in America, the ones who were there completely convinced that it was a stolen election, the ones who were there probably armed, you're saying that none of those people fired a single shot and that was supposed to be considered an insurrection led by President Trump, directed by President Trump, like President Trump said, let's go get them, but nobody fired a shot. You got to be out your mind if you're going to keep repeating that type of nonsense, like Liz Cheney or Nancy Pelosi. So we mock those people. However, the face of that movement, we got to go inside the Capitol. What? Fed. Mr. Ray Epps. Mr. Ray Epps is, his sentencing guidelines have dropped. Like the ball at New Year's Eve. How about that? It's Central. What's that called? Times Square. It's what do they call it? Just the ball dropping. Anyway. So that has just dropped about Ray Epps, and it's like, hold on, you're giving him a slap on the wrist, and you have Granny in jail. You have people years after this misdemeanor event has occurred, allegedly, where they walked through peacefully, and you're going to give this guy a slap on the wrist. We're going to cover that story. And also, we're going to touch on President Harvard President Claudine Gay, her resignation. Is this a big deal or is it nothing? We'll talk about all of these stories and more. So please leave your comments in the section over here. Anybody commenting yet? I don't know. I haven't clicked on it, but yes, please leave your comments. We appreciate your interaction on the program. That guy over there, his name is Blake. His last name is Walley, and you can find him on X at TV's Blake Walley. TVS BLAKEWALLEY. Also, his site is thenextlevelnews.com. Follow him there. This show, of course, is called the Agree to Disagree Show on the New American Media because the old American media has failed you. Subscribe to the podcast, the Agree to Disagree Show, on Spotify. Go to Rumble and subscribe and like our shows and watch them on Rumble. Go to the New American Media. Find us. Also on Telegram. We're going to pull up a Telegram thing, maybe just for a super quick segment to launch the show, and then we'll get into today's topics. But Telegram is great. Follow us on Telegram at TNAM for the New American Media and TNAM Chat. TNAM and TNAM Chat. On X, we are at American_media_. On Instagram, the New American Media. On Facebook, do a parentheses, or quotation marks rather, TNAMs, TNAM_S, the Agree to Disagree Show. Find us. It's a private group. It's an awesome group. And we have a page at the New American Media. So follow us in all those places, please. So, Blake, I just kind of had this idea, something I wanted to do. And let's see how this goes right now. I've always wanted to do a meme of the day segment, and just kind of in the regular show prep that I do. And I don't know, Blake, let me ask you before we get going, do you find yourself in a situation where like how do you balance show prep versus actually creating the show? Because I've found myself to be a vacuum. I am constantly reading and sourcing and digging and researching. Like I'm constantly doing this, but I'm trying to reduce the amount of time that I'm digging in and kind of double and triple my output. How do you manage that? Do you find yourself scrolling and reading and learning and searching all day? Do you have a parameter? Like you only do it certain times of the day? Like some people call it doom scrolling, but I'm like, no, I'm doing show prep. I'm doing research.
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, I just generally find stuff on Twitter, and then I can just, save it. I keep lots of folders in my favorites, and then I can use that as a one source. Another one I use is a news aggregator? It's called Feedly. Let's see, is this it? Here we go. Yeah, and I just have like different publications I have, stuff I like, activist posts, and here's articles up here. I can go through some of them: American Thinker, Alt Market, Becker News. I can go to Information Liberation. Yeah, you kind of see some of the who's who of a lot of the things that I follow, and this aggregator it puts everything in a chronological order where I can find the latest stories. So here's from Paul Joseph Watson. This is Mike Adams, Natural News. This is Off the Press, which would get a bunch of different articles. They're put there by Joseph Curl, who used to work for Matt Drudge. So they're doing their own thing. Of course, the Federalist, the Gateway Pundit, which I use, and they always have new stories that are right at the top. So they have things that have just broken, and I go through, kind of the latest news of the last 24 hours, and that's how I find a lot of the stories, and that's probably why I see a lot of repeat publications, my go-tos. And then, of course, just general interesting things that I find on Twitter. I collect them all, and then I put them in some kind of an order and try to, that's how I prep for the show generally.
So do you have the New American Media's Twitter feed on that? What do you call that? Something Lee? What is that? Feedly?
It's Feedly. No, you wouldn't be on there. I mean, I have my website is on there somewhere. Let's see. The Next Level News feed, but you would have to have stuff that's published on your website. So it's not.
Oh, so it doesn't go through the Twitter feeds. It goes through like the www.home.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I wanted to go find your page, I could just go to American Media on Twitter right there and go through scroll there if I wanted to. Otherwise, sometimes I just see stuff randomly or what have you, however the algorithm puts their news up there. But that's another way.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I never stop scrolling for great content, and I feel like something that one of the best ways to describe the zeitgeist, the mood or feeling of the times, one of the best ways to do that is through memes. And I've always wanted to do a meme of the day segment, but I have like 11 of them, so I just want to buzz through some of the best ones that I've found here. This would be on the TNAM. Well, I guess I sent this to, I sent this to you directly. I don't really have this, but just want to buzz through a few of the favorite ones before we start today's show. This is a post from Tommy Vexed. This is a good one to set the tone for the day. This one isn't necessarily a meme, but it's a good tone setter. Just reminding everyone that just reminding everyone the Jeffrey. Okay, I'm reading it wrong because they wrote it wrong. Just reminding everyone that Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence community asset and a fake billionaire whose job was to blackmail the ruling class by filming them engaged in sexual activity with children, and that's why the FBI will never release all the names. Okay, thank you. Got that one out of the way. That was difficult, but that was important. That was important to kind of see as a palate cleanser, set the tone for today's show. This one is from Wayne Zirkle.
It's either FBI or Mossad or something. And yes, that's probably at the highest levels. Jeffrey Epstein was, a very valuable resource for the powers that be. Get blackmail and control very powerful people.
Yeah, and what does it say about a country that would go to those lengths to try to maintain their power and control? I mean, we'll dig into that a little bit, but my God, if we haven't had clear evidence that this nation has been overthrown and tossed into the gutter, I don't know what it would take to consider this to be normal standard fare for how the United States is going to operate and how Israel and Mossad and other countries are going to blackmail, manipulate, bribe, and control people. Willing to do absolutely anything. There's no limit to the disgusting depravity these people will go to just maintain a little bit of extra leverage on people. I mean, the American government needs an enema from top to bottom, and we'll dig into that a little bit. Okay, this one here from Jane Zirkle. This is the picture of that screaming lady that was from Trump's inauguration in 2017. Classic screaming lefty. It says Jeffrey Epstein documents verify that Donald Trump never went to Jeffrey Epstein's islands or homes. And that's kind of perfect because she's going, no. And if you can hear a meme, then it's effective, Blake. Like you can actually look at this. You get an audible reaction to this, right? Like you can hear what this meme is saying, can't you?
Yeah, I guess that's in a way, that's why memes can be very valuable and powerful.
Absolutely. This, of course, is Chris Hansen. Americans right now watching the Epstein names being released. This is a good account to follow. Kirk_defies_tyrants. I get a lot of good stuff from there. I kept him in the crop because I think just copying and sharing without attribution it's a failure. Because, if our feed goes down one day, you should be following the same awesome accounts where we regularly go fishing for memes. But yeah, this is the pedophile hunter, and we're all just waiting, looking for the names. Okay, next. Right here, I love when memes collide. This was a story, it's not particularly relevant other than mentioning, holy crap, did you see this? This was in Las Vegas, Blake, your old stomping grounds. Did you happen to see this video of this criminal saying, yeah, I'm constantly trying to improve myself and blah, blah, blah. She's like, yeah, well, we're going to sentence you. And he's like, well, he made a jump that I don't think 95% of NFL players could do to jump over a line of scrimmage to stop a running back from getting a couple yards and short yardage on fourth down. Did you see this video?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Multiple times. That was a kind of a big deal yesterday. That was a very, shock video. That that guy. Well, I don't know. I can't really feel sorry for him. He kind of did that to himself, and he kind of proved the judge's point. So
Yeah, it's like instant karma. Like I love how he's putting on the fake act, and then just lunges. I mean, this dude jumped. I don't know how high that bench was, but man, this guy launched almost out of the frame. Absolutely incredible. And it just kind of reminds you that we have this false sense of security, like, oh, there's bailiffs and guards, and this is a safe environment. It's like, this is not a safe environment. So a lot of times people are real tough keyboard warriors, and in real life, life comes at you fast. Some people are saying they didn't like how the judge was kind of like, yeah, they didn't like her tone, her dismissive kind of mocking tone of like, yeah, that's all well and good, but we're going to give you some real treatment. But then again, yeah, like you said, Blake, he definitely proved that she was right. This is a multiple time repeater who keeps earning the right to stay away from society because it's a violent madman. But yeah, this is the violent madman, which is the entire internet lunging at the Epstein client list. Just everybody is jumping with as much fervor as humanly possible to get at the Epstein client list. When memes collide, it's perfect. That's what that is. I love that one today. Also, this one is everyone's expectation this week. Who is that? It's a wrestler. It's WWE. It's not Triple H.
It almost looks like the guy that was Randy Savage's brother, the guy that played the Genius. But I mean, I think that's newer. I don't know who that is. I was a huge wrestling fan till about, I don't know, maybe the early mid 90s or something. And so I don't know all of them. I mean, look, the picture is too small. It's like,
okay, yeah, I don't know how to major screen them, but yeah, I don't know who. I can't quite make out who that is either. If someone knows, put it in the comments, please.
I mean, I can just
it's not Shawn Michaels. I keep thinking Chris Benoit, but it's not Chris Benoit. It's tip of my tongue. Anyway, but everyone's expectations this week, it's to pull out this Santa Claus wish list here and roll this whole thing out in the ring and start reading off the names. And in reality, it's just kind of like, oh, what's in the box? Who's in the list? Who's on the list? Because it's just it feels like it's going to be pushed off forever. And yes, we did get some info, but like we're going to talk about in a moment, there's a lot more info on there. We're getting a bite-sized piece of this. We're not getting the full list, which is kind of disappointing. This is a meme that we were kind of on the same track with a certain story, but switching different gears. This is Captain Kirk, right? On the Starship Enterprises, set Pfizer's to suddenly. I'm sure they spelled that wrong. Nothing to see there. Moving on. This one here. Trump visited Epstein Island too, shrieks the lefties. And that's the bus going across the tracks. And bam! The train says, here's the documents. Read them, you nitwits. Read them. And then here's a fact. Less of a meme, but more of a tone setter. A picture of this Muppet. He really looks like a Muppet, doesn't he, Blake? This Epstein clown.
He's a creep, man. I'm sorry. I don't know if he's dead or not. I really would love to spend some time interrogating that dude. He's such a scumbag.
I do not believe that he's gone.
I don't
in
either.
any way. Oh, well, you saw a picture. Okay, the earlobes don't make sense. The nose doesn't make sense. It doesn't really look like him. Okay, fine. Say that's him. We saw a picture. You're telling me he couldn't have held still for 2 seconds taking a picture? And now he's back in a different undisclosable location? This was like your number one honeypot information collector. Your biggest spider web producer. He ain't gone.
Right.
There's no way he's gone.
I agree. Anyway. It was so obvious. They were setting it up like, oh, the prison guards are on overtime. And, they just don't. Yeah, they were lacking security. They were loading it all up. And, that they totally smuggled that guy out of there.
Yeah, and I will say, I do like to think about the possibility that John McAfee, they still, his wife, he and his wife, their family and his team were very gracious, jumped on our program a couple times to talk about stuff. I find him to be a very interesting cat. But he allegedly died a couple of years ago. What was it? In Spain, I think, right?
Yep. He was in custody in Spain, getting extradited, I think.
Yeah, and he got a tattoo called Whacked. There was an H in there, I think. WHACK''D. And he said, let it be known I'm not suicidal, and I would never take myself out. If I am ever taken off the chessboard, somebody else did it, and I was whacked. And then shortly after, he allegedly committed the deed, but the family still doesn't have his body. So I like to think he's kicking it in the Caribbean with Tupac and Biggie, unfortunately with Epstein as well. But, it's a fun story to talk about. But anyway, this Muppet, Jeffrey Epstein, the Mossad / FBI, CIA, deep state asset collector here. It just says Trump should get your vote just for his war on pedophiles and sex trafficking rings alone. Not one name on the Epstein flight logs has endorsed Trump, but every single one has endorsed Biden. Now, it's a wide sweeping meme there, Blake. I don't know if every single one, and there's probably a couple, Dershowitz comes to mind, who knows, but
I think
that is an interesting.
No, she quite. I think she walked that one back, so I'm not 100% if Dershowitz was involved or not. He was still a lawyer, and he still, set up a big deal for Epstein to get off.
And the problem with this list, there's a lot of where are the videotapes? Once again, that's to get into, but you do find it interesting that the most loud people implicated in this are some of the loud. Would you agree that no president in your lifetime that you've witnessed has ever gone after human trafficking rings more than President Trump?
I guess so, or at least it seemed like it. That's kind of a hard, I don't know. Maybe the only one that you've mentioned it. At least, made a point to talk about it, right?
Yeah, maybe that. Okay, yeah, and that's a good way to frame it, Blake. Is who else even made the effort to try to do something? And there were a lot of successful raids and operations under his watch. He seemed to really care about it. And then here's I think this is a final meme. Just kind of threw this in here because it's AJ pointing right at you. And I just found it interesting. Like I could imagine sharing a bourbon around a bonfire with this dude. And instead of all doom and gloom, for some reason, it's just kind of like the exact opposite. You will own a large piece of land. You will own a spacious ranch style home in a homogeneous high trust community. You will have fires every night in your backyard. You will have bountiful children with your loving wife. You will get dinner cooked for you every night. You will expose the globalist pedophiles. You will have privacy. You will own numerous firearms. You will practice free speech. You will be healthy and wealthy. You will be happy. And I just kind of like that one because there's so much, terror porn going on, so much doom and gloom. And it's just like, I don't know. I saw this meme and it just kind of gave me a little bit of hope, Blake. Does it feel hopeless for you? Like, do you ever find things like this and get a little bolstered? What am I trying to say? Bolstered, like recharging of the battery, just even sometimes getting pumped back up. Like, yeah, you know what? We are on the right track. We are doing the right thing, and we will come out on top of this. Do you ever need those I don't know, pep talks or speeches? Is there anyone that you listen to regularly or post content that generally lifts your spirit instead of drags you down?
Boy, maybe and I think there's been a lack of that recently. I've become more black day, so I try not to I was still in this epic fight. It's still in this this amazing shit show. I think there's still ways that can be things can be won, which is also why I'm still here. And I want to see all this stuff unfold. Whether I think that there's hope or there's going to be some great prosperous sci-fi future, I'm not sure yet, but I think there are ways to come out of this and to win and to make the world a better place and bring humanity together, great grand awakening, what have you. But it's a struggle. We've been in this for a long time. And it's been very difficult to wake people up. It's been difficult just for even the patriots to get on the right page. So a lot of different philosophies out there. So I'm not really sure where I sit, but I'm still in it to win it.
In it to win it, exactly. And you said the Patriot. I think this is the last meme now. This is a picture of Mel Gibson in the Patriot wielding that tomahawk and covered in blood. And he says, "Your ancestors went through far worse. Your ancestors were warriors and rebels. They were survivors. Don't be black-pilled. Carry the fire inside and they will hate you even more, attack you more. Stay in the fight." Blake.
Yeah.
Stay in the fight.
Well, I know. I totally agree. Our ancestors went through way more adversity than we could even imagine. And the people have no idea. And so they've set this all up. And we could be in for, who knows? We could be in for a civil war. You could be right. We could all be ranchers and patriots and militia, fighting against the Hunger Games type of elitists. I have no idea, but
yeah, they're gonna be in their bunkers. We got 15 million invaders from across the world flooding across to launching stations near you. And yeah, one day the power is going to go off and they're going to have our addresses. You better be ready to defend yourself and your neighborhood and your family.
It could be a solar flare. That's one of the things that's more concerning is whether that can even be avoided. And that could be very problematic. So,
well, but that's an easy thing to fake too. You shut your own system down and you say, "Oh, well, our scientists determined there was a solar flare. We have limited things up and running for your government-sponsored radio programming. We'll let you know when we're able to get the system back on," and they'll give you your daily dose of propaganda. I mean, they could fake that because that's invisible. A solar flare is invisible, just like a pandemic, allegedly. It's invisible. You don't see it. You don't see a little germ theory. You don't see, little dust particles floating in the air. It's just like, it's everywhere. Hide in your basement. Hide. It's everywhere. Look, the solar flare. It just happened. Like, did it happen or did you just press the shut everything off now?
If there's a big coronal mass ejection heading towards the Earth, it will wipe out the power grid and we will go back to the Stone Age very, very quickly.
Yeah, but they could also fake that.
Well, they could do an EMP attack. I get that. But
right.
Yeah, so, no, an actual like a solar micronova type of event that has been speculated and could be coming back, which does affect this planet, could be in the works. It might not be for 10 or 20 years, but it could be coming. So, yeah, we might be forced back on ranches and what have you. So,
well, that's the perfect way to sum this up. Well, the last, I believe I've said the last meme 3 times because I don't have it in front of me. I'm just scrolling, but this might be the last one. This is from the Tree of Liberty here. What is this? At Bell Disorganized Joy. At Disorganized Joy. Okay. It says, "This is a green pepper." It's a 4-panel cartoon. "This is a green pepper. It costs 75 cents at the grocery store. Inside the pepper are enough seeds to make hundreds, even thousands more peppers. In a world where nothing comes free, and it's profitable to control what people copy and create, gardening is a revolutionary act." Blake, have you taken any efforts? Do you have any area to grow, or like, I know you're maybe not in a perfect position.
Private land. Yes, right. If I was up to me and I had the money and the means, I would absolutely be living, not off grid per se, but I would absolutely have some land, live like a lake, a garden, of course. Yeah. But if I won $1 million tomorrow, yes, that's where I would be. I just have to make sure I get some really good internet, hopefully fiber optic. But if that's not available, I would get my Elon satellite, which you can take anywhere off grid. And yes, I would just live off the land and get away from civilization until things smooth out. I'm sure you would.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But, you try to make do with what you can. They have some really incredible indoor hydroponic setups as well. So it's like people that don't have land outside, like there's ways you can do towers and you can grow some food inside. Okay, cool. Well, any comments we wanted to get to? Timothy is saying he sits with light, truth, and wisdom. Timothy is saying, F the magic screen, use it to educate yourself. Yes, because in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. So do better, people. And Timothy says he's an impeccable manscaper. Well, thanks for that. You know,
Needed
I
that
talked about the
visual. Yes,
descending.
been a lot of talk about balls and now manscaping. That's good stuff.
We need to reach out and get them as a sponsor. There's a couple of companies that advertise the man grooming stuff. Maybe we'll look into that. Okay, well, that was just a brief rundown of some of the memes of the day.
Right, give us $1 million. Hey, I noticed you guys get like 50 views on your shows. Let's give you a big $5 million sponsorship to sell manscaping products. That would be cool. I would take it though, right? Why not?
I mean, look. There's a way to reach out to companies who are ideologically aligned, and they know that the type of content we're providing reaches their target demographic, and they could believe in us. And yes, they might not give us the same deal. They'd give rattle off your top 20 libertarian, conservative, actual news source sites that you can think of off the top of your head. Maybe we wouldn't get the same deal, but maybe we could get 1/200th of that deal. And then maybe we could get 10 of them. And we use it to start growing. So like I have some plans for the year, but yeah, that's a good one. Manscaping. I've seen these ads. It's basically reverse engineering, Blake, the ads that run on the other content that we watch. And you go, well, if they're advertising on theirs, maybe they'd advertise on ours. So it's something to think about. Thanks for the idea, Timothy Hanlon.
Okay, Carol won't do it, but maybe those two assholes on that YouTube thing, they'll do it.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of those two assholes, hey, we need some manscaper. Got to keep those hedges trimmed. Right. Okay. Anyway, enough of the potty talk. Let's jump into today's program. And yes, as you see in that new stinger intro, whatever you want to call it, the new American media, that is a flag being raised upside down to display a nation in distress. We are truly a nation in distress, and we are calling on all of the good people of this earth to rise up against the monsters. So wait, you can't give what you don't have. Okay, I don't know what that's. What's in that relation to, Blake? I don't know what that was. Okay. Now, speaking of the monsters on this planet, let's talk about the Mossad CIA asset. Well, is it Mossad definitely, CIA definitely? Do we definitely know all the ties of Epstein, and his cohort? Do we know exactly who he was tied to? Or is it just speculation that it was Mossad and CIA? Because when we dig into these stories, Blake, like I said, the number one thing I'm asking you for is who, what, where, when, why. What do we actually know about where Epstein came from and who he reports to? Because there's speculation and there's fact. Are we all just speculating and we assume it's Mossad, CIA, or do we actually know?
I couldn't say 100% if he's Mossad. I'd say it sounds credible. It's very possible. What I did see from the FBI, I did see the Gateway Pundit actually had a story earlier from Mike Cernovich, who is also a lawyer and was responsible for getting the trial for Epstein to just be busted. So he was kind of wrapped up in the midst of that. I don't know all the details, but he did say that Epstein was.
Wait, hold on. Back up for 1 second. Did you say who was responsible for getting
Mike
the trial?
Cernovich.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah.
So he was responsible for pushing the trials to happen, you're saying?
I was saying for all this story to break, years ago in the first place. That he was the reason we know of Epstein and a lot of the stuff is because he was digging into that, and it was through Florida. I don't know all the details. It's been a while, but I know that he was involved in that.
Yeah, because I know AJ was involved in that. I remember when you brought it up, you were kind of getting into the story a little bit. I'm like, this isn't on the radar anywhere. Where is this guy? So like AJ and Cerno. Okay, so we know it's been going on for quite some time, but I guess we don't exactly know who it is, but we sort of assume that we do know that it's U.S. intelligence and possibly in coordination, in conjunction, or Mossad, Israeli intelligence used it to blackmail United States assets? I mean, there's a lot of speculation. And, we'll get into that with Jimmy Kimmel and Aaron Rodgers and the speculation involved in all this, because it's all right there, but the puzzle pieces aren't quite put together yet, but you can kind of see it, but there's still a lot of question marks here. Sure. So, all right. So the Epstein list then, not entirely knowing who to attribute who he answered to and where his mysterious money came from, the fake billionaire who was bankrolling him essentially. Did this deliver everything that we wanted to see, Blake? Agree or disagree that the Epstein list delivered everything we wanted to see?
No, disagree. I mean, yes, a lot of people were unmasked. We were waiting for it. It's great that it came out, but I think it kind of showed us, what we already knew already. And then it brought up a lot of names I don't think the everyday person would be familiar with, including myself. So maybe these people will be vetted. Maybe they're very powerful in corporate or Hollywood. I'm not entirely sure. But these people need to be exposed. And it also doesn't really necessarily implicate that they are guilty or that they were involved with the abuse of, minors or what have you, only that they have potentially visited the island and had associations with Epstein to some degree. Does that mean that they were, doing really highly illegal stuff on camera and were blackmailed? Not necessarily, but
and you're right. It doesn't necessarily mean that. And that's an important distinction. And that is, it's easy to, because we've been seeing the fake lists going around with all these celebrities on it for a long time now. But there's a difference between going and partying, having a couple drinks and there's girls and whatever. There's a difference between partying on an island with people. There's a difference between partying on an island with kids who are kids and doing things that anybody knows is obviously wrong. That's where it gets a little dicier. That's where this gets a little more important. It's like it's easy to understand how a 17-year-old could use a fake ID and get into a club that's an 18 and over club, and the next morning you realize, like that happened to an Oklahoma City Thunder basketball player.
Josh Giddey?
His name. Yeah, what was it? Josh Giddey?
That's how you pronounce his name. Yeah, it's Giddey. Yeah, plays for Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
the guard.
That's it, Josh Giddey. And some of the stories are like, well, she went to a nightclub and she had a fake ID, and so he was there. He figured everybody there was over, and it's like, okay, you could understand that mistake. I think some of the story continues that no, they had a thing going on for a long time, and he knew damn well how old she was. And that can be proven. Okay, so that's a little different. But if the story was like it was presented at the beginning, you could at least understand. But there's no mistaking a 10-year-old with an 18-year-old. There's no mistaking. It's not like, I don't know, we were at the club and we were out and we were at a party and one thing led to another. I didn't know. We've seen people that are 16, 17.
Right. Well, I don't know if they were like
10,
but I think there were probably, at least 14, 15 in that range, 14, 15, 17. But I mean, there could be a lot more other stuff to come. And we didn't get a lot of names that people thought might be on there, like the Jimmy Kimmels, the Stephen Colberts, the Chief Justice Roberts. There was a lot of people speculating. I saw they were saying that Adam Schiff, somebody reported that, a supposed patriot, he got like 3 million views on there, like alert. Adam Schiff was there 70 times. It's like, well, where's the proof? I'd like to believe that. Maybe he did. Certainly, that's one of the shadiest characters in all of Congress. But we didn't get any of those kind of big names that we already knew Dershowitz, who may or may not even be involved. We already know Bill Clinton. There's a couple surprises on there. Michael Jackson, David Copperfield was one of the names. As well as Stephen Hawking. So, there was a few, but that's not necessarily saying that they're guilty, but it's just saying that they were on the list and they may have been visited the island. But like Bill Clinton, we've already known for a long time that he was there 26 times at least, and it might be more, and that he was into young girls. We already, it's not a huge surprise, but it's just whether people are going to do something about it.
Right.
And whether there's more beyond that. So no, was it everything we wanted to see? No, but it's a good start.
It is a start. But that kind of leads us into the second part of this conversation that, well, if it ever comes up. Oops. Hold on. Oh, hold on. Oh, God. I'm telling you, I run good controls, but when the controls don't work when you press the buttons, Okay, next. All you can do is press the buttons. Dreamer Ultra is asking, what's up, Dreamer, by the way? He's asking, why is this stuff not running nonstop on every news ticker? Instead, we get Trump dropped off of the ballot stuff. Yeah, it's just kind of ridiculous.
It's like, but yeah, like the media is ever gonna do anything about it, even if it was just all the juiciest names. They're never going to. They don't have integrity. They're not trying to bring the news. They just do what they're told, and they work for all these just big corporations. They know that their careers will be finished if they ever go against their handlers. So unfortunately, but that's the way it is. They're not. We can't force them to cover anything. And they're not on our side.
That's what's created the void in the marketplace for the new American media, for the Next Level News, for all the independent media that has risen up because we're sick of being lied to. And by the way, lies through omission are lies. Oh, well, it's subjective, they say. Well, just because they choose to not cover the story of Hunter Biden's bribery scandal and his blackmail scandal and his treason scandal, well, just because they don't cover it, it doesn't mean that they're lying. Yes, it does. Well, they just don't think it's very important because nothing's been proven. Bullshit. You lied to us about Trump accusations for 3 years straight. For 7 years straight at this point. But I call bullshit. Important stories and important accusations should be covered equally because they're equally newsworthy. When you're only covering the bash Trump stuff and you're ignoring the bleeding, oozing sore on your own face called the Biden family and the Democrat Party and the deep state, when you're just ignoring 51 intelligence officials colluding in the most fascistic way possible with the Democrat Party and with Fox News to come out and try to sink the Trump campaign in the debate against Joe Biden in 2020, to lie, 51 intelligence officials, 51 people who may or may not have participated in this Epstein blackmail scheme. 51 people saying, oh, there was no Hunter Biden laptop. It's checks notes. Russian disinformation. Yes, it's Russian disinformation, we say. Just so they could fortify the election to sink the Trump campaign. These are stories that need to be covered, and nobody is. Vivek called them out. That wasn't even in our stack, but we do have to at least mention that, play his minute-and-a-half retort. But, he's been accurately and effectively calling out the media, saying this is why people don't like you. This is why people don't trust you. Nobody from the legacy media has come out and apologized for their lies that helped sink the Trump election in 2020. Nobody has come out to apologize for the abject lies because they won't. And that's why we won't tune into them anymore. If you want your propaganda bullshit, go get it. You know what? Go try to sell that shit elsewhere. Look at your ratings. We don't want it. We don't want to be lied to anymore. And we never have. But Luckily, we have the opportunity now to compete with them in the marketplace of ideas. Unfortunately, Blake, as you well know, they do everything possible to rig the algorithms, to starve the advertisers, to remove the monetization, to make sure they don't take a story that we're all covering and allow our story to get recommended in the suggested feed. They used to in the old internet, the good internet, they used to. But now they make sure CNBC gets a chance to talk about the exact same story. You could even search the Next Level News or the New American Media and say, hey, we want to find out about what the New American Media had to say about Epstein. You could type in TNAM Epstein, the New American Media Epstein, and it will show you what CBS had to say. It refuses to let us get up into that marketplace of ideas, but we're still going. We're still going because their censorship regime is failing. 2024, I feel like it's all going to hit the fan. The lies stacked on top of lies, Blake. I just don't see any way they could keep this charade up any longer. It's never been more obvious what they're doing with evidence. And it leads me to this question, Blake. Do you agree or disagree that the feds are hiding a treasure trove of the real evidence with that?
Yeah, absolutely agree. And they raided his island, so they must have something. They must have found something. It wasn't nothing. So, but just like the Hunter laptop or a lot of other evidence that they hide that's politically inconvenient to the people that are in power. Yeah, that's what modus operandi, as they call it. So that's what they're doing. And I don't know if they're going to release some of that stuff because they're going to, throw out some of the stuff we already know, throw out a few other names that aren't really, it's not like super gotcha red-handed stuff. And then they'll just ignore it, or they'll let us, oh, okay, there you go. You guys happy now? And then they'll hide like the real stuff, like the really ugly stuff they don't want people to see, because then people would really be outraged about it. Unless they would have found something on like Trump, or maybe if they could have found some of the people they wanted to get, and then they'd probably bring that one out. But
well, that's a perfect segue into the next agree or disagree question. I think we'll just jump right to that one, Blake. That's perhaps what you call the perfect segue. Make sure you're following Blake on X. He's at TV's Blake Walley and the nextlevelnews.com. Blake, agree or disagree that Democrats only really cared about Donald Trump's involvement with Epstein? Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I would say absolutely agree. It's like, well, okay, they'll ignore every name that there was, and all they cared about was Donald Trump. To go see, because they do have, a couple pictures. Epstein has been at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, and there was that possibility as well. I was willing to accept whatever happens. It's something that needs to come out, and we all need to know about this stuff. We can't have politicians in power that are blackmailed. So whether that's Donald Trump or not, nobody is above this. But as it turns out, there was nothing mentioned about that. And the women were actually questioned, like, specifically about that. Was Donald Trump there? And they were like, no, we never saw him. We don't know anything about that, his involvement. So that, yeah. And then are they talking about Clinton? Like, oh my God, I can't believe what a pig. Why was he there? No, they don't care. They just care that Trump's name's not there. So it's sad that it has to be set up like that way, where it's two different teams, and they're just going to protect their own and just go after the other side. And that's why we can't, play together. And if we could get on the same page, it's just divide and conquer. So it's sad, but that's what is happening right now. At least that I can see.
Do you think that, there is no playing nice? There is no compromise. I really don't want, I don't want to hear about reconciliation, and I don't want to hear about compromise, and I don't want to hear about bipartisanship. It's never been more obvious that there is a side that is hell-bent on destroying this country, trying to take it down from every single angle, Blake. There is, there was that famous phrase, there's no negotiating with terrorists. What was that last one there? It's harder to, you pulled that one up. Timothy says he watches ESPN for the, okay. Dreamer says, yeah, it makes it harder to argue with liberals because a story uncovered is fake news. Abso-freaking-lutely, Dreamer. That is exactly the point. How many times, Blake, have we been on top of stories that, I mean, you know, instantly, I mean, I guess, you know, you weren't at the dashboard at the control panel. Thank you, Dreamer. Yes, sir, and doing a darn fine job. Appreciate that and the kind words. But how many times was I putting stories up and instantly they hated the topic, whether it be Seth Rich. Hey, where's that damn story, by the way? Whether it's Epstein, whether it's
got to wait like 60 more years. They're going to release that. It'll be to our grandchildren. Like they won't care and they'll forget all about it. But that's the point.
No, it's time, Blake. There is no moving forward until we address these things. What were you saying, sorry?
Oh yeah, no. Along with JFK files and all that stuff. Seth Rich, our grandchildren will eventually find out, but by that time they'll be like, "Who are they?"
Yeah, but there's no coming back. There's no moving forward until this stuff is resolved, Blake. This is at the core of the festering monster who is actively plotting to overthrow this nation, and in a lot of ways has. When did it start? I don't know. Was it when they offed JFK in front of all of us? I don't know. Was it in 1913 at a little island? And was it off South Carolina or Georgia?
I'm not sure where that was, but yeah, somewhere off the East Coast. Somewhere
maybe
somewhere
South Carolina.
Could have.
You want to look that up real quick?
Is it that important? Right. I got you. Jekyll Island. That's where all the people that invented the Federal Reserve, they were there. They wanted to create a new central bank and fiat currency, and they got the president to sign off on that at the time. And I'm already drawing a blank on his name. Wasn't
Woodrow Wilson?
Woodrow Wilson. Thank you, Brian.
The worst president in American history. I mean, he's
won by the bankers. Joe Biden. Well, yeah.
Joe Biden running the third Obama term is pretty bad. Jamie, could you pull up Jekyll Island? It is that important. Yes, that's off the coast of Georgia. Midway between Jacksonville, Florida, and Savannah, Georgia. Actually, I've been to Savannah's an awesome place, but yeah, those little things. They're like little what do they call them? Earwigs. They're little earworm. Like when a song gets stuck in your head and you got to figure out who sang it. It is that important to me because until I can close the door on that,
that's why we have these like huge marathon shows. Right, we keep getting into sidetracked, and
we should do bite-sized shows and make it boring.
Right,
we should be super boring for the audience. I'm sure. All right, audience, would you prefer that we have no banter and no interesting components to our show and just give you straight info, or do you
would you prefer a 1 hour to 90-minute show, or do you want the 2.5-3 hour with all of the added fluff?
Okay, let's be fair. There's no there was like 1 or 2.5 hour shows. Right. They're mostly an hour 45.
Right, that's because I have to leave. That's because I have to leave. And right.
I could do this 6 hours a day. I really could. But anyway, I seriously asking the audience, Dreamer and Timothy and everybody else in there, would you prefer a show where it's way less personality and sidebars and tangents and interesting stuff and trying to tell some jokes and trying to, or do you like that about the show? If you could prefer option A or option B, tell us. Do you want it more concise, or do you want like that extra seasoning in the soup?
It's like Brian's got a 4-hour show with Anomaly, who's also a huge draw. But anytime anyone wants to click that link and goes, "Oh my God, 4 hours," pass. No.
See, it's the opposite for me. I see a show, I click it, I listen for hours at a time. I'm used to listening to Coast AM for 4 hours every night, from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. I would listen for 4 hours straight. I'd work on stuff. I'd stay up the show just goes and goes and goes for hours, and I would never stop. I'd listen to 3-4 hour podcasts. Rogan does marathons all the time. I'd click it and listen. So, different people are into different stories. Anyway, I digress. So the Fed's hiding a treasure trove of real evidence. It seems to be the case. They allegedly have videos, but Blake, wasn't that part of I didn't know if you had a story on this, but aren't there people like publicly calling about where are the videos? Like you mentioned it, you touched on it, but like, where are the videos? I don't need to see insertion. You can block up, cover over some stuff, but show people what Clinton was doing. Show people who these monsters are.
Well, I might not need to see that. They can probably blur a lot of that out, but they need to show. Yeah,
well, hold on. Real quick.
Right.
You wanted to see butchered babies. You want to see raped women. You want it like you don't believe anything.
Yeah, I don't, because those stories are totally bullshit. Yeah, those Israeli propaganda stories are total fabrications. And if they're going
to demand the video evidence,
yeah, they have no video.
I mean, to be fair,
you would demand they have the videos, but blur it out. Obviously, I don't want to see. But of course, they're going to protect the people anyway. They're minors who were not involved in non-consensual things. Of course, they got to blur that stuff out, but they can show Clinton's face. So that would be a proof, but no. In fact, I didn't even put that story in my stack. But one of these supposed rape victims from this, is this hellacious Israel attack on 10/7. Actually, she came out. Her sister said no, that was bullshit. That was not true. So all of the stuff they said it with the butchered babies in ovens, these sexual assaults, all of that stuff was bullshit. That's not to say that Hamas aren't fucking evil motherfuckers that deserve to be hunted down and removed from society. But were they involved in the stuff that Netanyahu said they were? No. Anyway,
luckily, only 1,500 people were snuffed out and buried in the ground. Luckily, it was only 1,500 murders. It could have been worse. Anyway,
it could have been worse. Yeah, maybe they were allowed to die because the IDF did nothing. It was a stand down for anywhere from 7 to 9 hours, and then they brought in Apache helicopters and tanks that obliterated probably most of the people. It was all done by friendly fire because there's something where they won't let people be taken hostage. So they'll actually kill their own people so they don't be taken hostage, which is, something that happens. And there was a lot of confusion that day. But that's not to say, that Hamas aren't awful people that need to be...
that was in the Hunger Games. Maybe it was the last one, second to last one, or the last one. There were several instances where people were getting dragged away. One where the guy fell down in the sewer and he was dragged down by the monsters and he was screaming out for help, and she detonated the device and tossed it in there to make sure he didn't have to live through that experience of being ripped to shreds by these demons. Just end it. Don't drag this out in a torturous way. Just please put him out of his misery. It was another one. It's like, please shoot me. It was where he was getting dragged in to the president, like the president's henchmen were taking him in the back of the van, and he was begging, please shoot me. Like I don't want to go get tortured. So I mean, there's a lot of this.
And aliens too. You don't want the alien bursting out of your chest. You'd rather have one of your comrades just kill you.
Yeah, or like the zombie movie. Like, I got bit, take me out. Yeah, of course. So this isn't just Netanyahu coming up with an awful thing. It's like, no, it's obvious that in war these are components. Any conquering army will rape the women. That's from time immemorial, so that's not outlandish.
Yeah, no,
and of course
Mongols did that. Speaking of we're back to Mongolia again. There we go, just like that.
Ulaanbaatar, in Ulaanbaatar. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but I digress. Okay, Blake, what is this story you have here? What's this?
Well, I haven't watched any of this, but it's just bringing up the point. This is an Alex Jones tweet, and it's a video. It's an hour-long video, which I haven't had. Obviously, it was not in my show prep, but it says the Biden Justice Department FBI hiding hard drives and tapes shot by Epstein and the intel agencies chronicling their abuse. This information is 1,000 times more powerful than the Epstein client list and flight logs that we are being distracted by. And yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And if they've, covered up evidence of, whether it's Seth Rich or the Hunter Biden laptop and other examples, many other things that they just don't want the public to see. Yeah, they'll throw this Epstein client list. They'll throw a few people to the wolves and you just say, okay, that's it. There you go. But they're hiding the really juicy stuff. And just to get into that, yes, Epstein victim told Clinton likes them young as explosive doc dump names 170 famous pedo visitors, including Michael Jackson. And who else did we think we covered all the main ones? Dershowitz perhaps is exonerated. I'm not sure. Copperfield was interesting. Stephen Hawking, because that's actually I actually used to work at the Copperfield. Not directly, but I worked at the MGM Grand, and that was one of the shifts that I used to work at the Hollywood Theater. So I worked his show, and I served drinks to his audience members, and he would always come through the bar. He didn't like sit there and chat with us, but he was, kind of friendly, kind of just kind of walked in and waved, but he didn't, talk. But yeah, he was a strange character, but it seemed like a pretty nice guy. But I know that he was one of the hardest working men, and he hardly ever took days off. But when he did, he would take like a vacation here and there, and he would go to an island. I always presumed that it was his own private island, and it probably was. But who knows? He was apparently involved and was at a dinner, but it didn't say that he was involved with the girls, but that he did mention that he did magic tricks at a dinner, of course, and that he asked one of the girls if she got paid to talk to other girls or to bribe other girls. So he knew kind of what was going on, and he's a buddy of Epstein. So that's not.
Hang on, I laughed over that last part, Blake. You said that he did what with magic tricks? That he did. Sorry, I started laughing because I had a joke about it. Okay, go ahead. I can make this hot dog disappear. Anyway, go ahead. But I laughed over it. Repeat that last part for me.
That he was at that he was at dinners and that he performed magic tricks at the dinner.
Okay. Yeah, that was the trick that made me laugh out loud. Like, I can make this disappear. I tried to clean that up a little bit. I was going to use the rooster term. Anyway, I'm not that kind of show, Blake. But
right.
Okay.
What else do we have? Stephen Hawking, did he participate in an underage orgy on Pedo Island?
I mean, I don't know how much participation he's going to be doing.
Right. I don't know exactly. Yeah. Apparently he liked to watch. I don't know if that happened. So it's weird, and he's no longer with us. And yes, exactly. How much could he have actually done except to be there to view some shows? I don't know. So
I mean, he could have been serviced, but
maybe. Yeah.
Now the story's going around about the midgets. That is a joke.
Oh, right? That's right. Yeah, I don't. It could be. I don't actually know.
Is it real? There's no way that's real.
I'll assume it's not real unless somebody can show it. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to judge Hawking. That poor guy has been, with that horrible disease, and I don't know. He's been basically handicapped for so long. I don't know. What he was into. I mean, humans are sexual creatures, and I don't know exactly the extent of his activity, if anything, so it's hard to say.
And humans engaging in consensual activities, it's like,
right.
To what degree should anyone care? Like, I think they should care if they're lying to their spouse in bringing home disease. That's an obvious betrayal. I think it should matter if you are a Hunter Biden crack whore himself. We can just call him a crack whore because of the blackmail opportunities. That's the president's kid. Well, I shouldn't call him the president. The resident's kid. You don't want somebody getting involved in so many situations where the blackmail video evidence is something that could put him in a compromised position to where U.S. foreign policy could be compromised. That's where that matters. You don't want something with obvious underage people because it's you don't have a consent when you're 10, 11, 12. Like, there's no consent. Well, they're participating. They were actively it's like, no, you can't really consent to stuff like that. There are cases where it matters, but yeah, I mean, humans are sexual creatures. Humans are going to do what they're going to do. And whatever you're into, like, as long as it's not harming another person, like who cares? There's that classic phrase that maybe won me over to libertarianism from the beginning. And it was, if you want a strong government, you should keep Republicans out of the bedroom and keep Democrats out of the boardroom. That's where they're both awful. Democrats don't make any fiscal sense anywhere. Everything they touch turns to shit. And then the Republicans, it's like, you care way too much about sucking and fucking. Like, just stay out of it. Just, if it's not harming somebody else. But of course, Epstein Island gets into actual harm with victims and underage. And, but I'm trying to understand, like, were these people, like, were they chained? Were they tricked? Were they were they, at what point did they participate willingly or for pay? And once again, a child cannot consent, let's be clear, but like, these were slaves, or they're
like orphan children, or they're like, children of immigrants that were probably bought on the black market. Who knows? Give their families money and they think they're going to go to a loving home, but instead they get to go to the Virgin Islands. How great. And
the kids are brainwashed and they're groomed, just like these teachers are trying to do, to push all of their sexual proclivities onto, impressionable minds. Yeah, if you think this is bad, wait till you hear about Haiti and Anthony Weiner's laptop. I really do think 2024 is going to truly be the year of disclosure. I could be wrong, but I think all of this stuff is coming out. I think the dam is bursting.
I sure hope so.
I could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
Well, we'll find out. It's off to a bang already, but we'll see. As far as addressing these rumors, here's one of them. Stephen Hawking enjoyed watching undressed midgets solve complex equations on a chalkboard that was set too high. So I guess he could look up their little skirts, but I don't know if that's true, because this has also been perhaps debunked. What did I read about Stephen Hawking? And then there's community notes on this. Says that this was digitally altered, that he liked watching these, undressed. Could you imagine that? That would be weird.
Did you see the one? Well, and that's, let's be clear. A lot of this stuff, it's there's a lot of satire floating around. So, our show, a lot of this is just
be midgets. Would they just be young girls? Like, I don't know. So it doesn't really make much. It's not that credible. And it's hard for me, and you, I'm sure, Brian, to imagine him participating in that. Oh, you should have watched the Dave Chappelle thing. I don't want to spoil one of the jokes, but that was he was ripping on Madison Cawthorn for that, because he's all well, I won't get into that.
All right. Well, I will watch. It's on my to-do list. I just have to take the time to do it. But, a lot of this, Blake, we appreciate people getting together here at the New American Media to sift through some of this stuff. I saw one of them was by Jack Posobiec, and he said, and it looked just like that, and it was typed out that way. And it's like, so he made you do what? Yeah, well, we mainly sat down on pillows and he talked to us about Jesus. He's like, what else did that monster do? It's like, no, that was it. He was a nice Midwestern man with a distinct mustache. It was just kind of like a joke about the MyPillow guy,
right?
Like some of these things look like news, but they're kind of jokes. It's a lot easier when it says the Onion or the Babylon Bee, or you can tell that it's satire. But yeah, some of these are trying to sift through this and figure out what an actual story is and what's garbage. It is a little tricky sometimes. What do you have here about?
Well, this was one of the other. This was an interesting name that was on the list, and we expected some powerful people. So we have a billionaire of Hyatt Hotels, executive chairman Thomas Pritzker, from the Pritzker family, named in the documents. So he was a bad boy. Perhaps. It looks like it could be potentially damning, and he'll have some explaining to do. And it can be really bad, because you never know what people that are blackmailed in positions of power and how they can be controlled. So that's one of the alarming things. Jeffrey Epstein said if he revealed what he knows about both candidates in 2016, the election would have to be canceled. That's according to Epstein's brother. If I said I knew what I know about both candidates, they would have to cancel the election. That was between Trump and Clinton. However, we've also got documents confirmed Donald Trump never went to the Epstein homes or Pedo Island, never had contact with any of these witnesses. So that's another thing. What else?
Doreen Burns are
You
saying those
remember
young
the
girls are
Ricky
more than
Gervais?
likely drugged. Oh, sorry, Blake. I talked right over there. I thought there was a space in
No, no
between.
worries.
But yeah,
Oh
she's
yeah, I
saying
mean they could
those
be.
young girls were more than likely drugged, and and that's the thing. There's multiple levels of how the story gets worse. It's like if there's a lady of the night of age in participating in a consensual activity, like Deshaun Watson, the Browns quarterback. He ended up in all sorts of accusations, but most of them were very consensual. Come on over. Let's give me a massage. By the way, the massage isn't quite finished. I'm going to slide a few $100 over on the side. Here's the baby oil. You mind finishing me off? And they do. And then they come back again. And everything's hunky-dory. They get an Instagram model off of, you get an Insta-ho off of IG. It's a mutual agreement. They're all on the same page. But I think what happened is there was more than one masseuse that was an actual masseuse who went, what the fuck? What are you doing? And that one or two actual masseuses caused a stink. And then all the Insta hoes jumped in when they saw it in the news and went, oh, yeah, I was there too. Yeah, I want some of that payoff money. Give me some of that hush money. And, they got $250 million. And okay, so I'll peel you off a few million. You each get a few 100,000. Go away. But so in something where it's consensual is one thing. A masseuse who's like, and then he whips out the towel and it's like, there's his junk. And it's like, dude, no, that's not that is gross. You've crossed a line, bro. That's different. So then if it's a girl instead of an adult, that's different. Then if it's a drugged girl, that's different. If it's an unconscious girl, it's different. If it's, if it's on the Anthony Weiner laptop, you go full demon mode with the stuff that's allegedly on there. By the way, go to Countervailing Views for CISA.gov/rumor control for elections and the Anthony Weiner laptop talking about the Clintons. Because this stuff has multiple layers of you cannot get access to the elite clubs unless you do something so demonic that you fracture your soul into a million pieces because you participate in something that is so inhuman that you really break yourself. And there's no way we can let you in our club until you break yourself because we can't get in the club until we do it. How else could we trust you? And that is like beyond the most jacked up stuff you could ever imagine happening. So the Epstein stuff, there's layers to this, Blake. What we got was layer one of the onion. There's a lot more going on here. I guess you pulled up here about Ricky Gervais. Remind us about this stuff.
Well, fun fact, I actually worked at Golden Globes, but I didn't know at the time what had actually happened. But I did see him walking by as I was standing there with a tray full of champagne for celebrities. But nice. That was an epic night there in Hollywood. And who knows, as mentioning, Paul Joseph Watson, he's thrown out a few other names that I did not see unsealed. I'm not sure where he's getting this. He's usually pretty careful about what he posts. But he says, among the names included in court documents were Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Blanchett, Cameron Diaz, and Bruce Willis.
Well, hold on. Hold on. I don't know that I could ever imagine Leonardo DiCaprio being into young girls.
Yeah.
Once again, 18-year-old versus minor, there's a stark difference there, of course. Layers to this. There's layers of depravity here, Blake.
Yeah, there sure is. And there's also plenty of rumors about some other high-profile people. One of them, of course, and we can get into this, is one of the stories that we had in the stack with Jimmy Kimmel. Now he's threatening legal action against Aaron Rodgers after quarterback suggests the talk show host's name might be on the Epstein list. So he's on the Pat McAfee show that his name might be on. He said there's a lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, that are really hoping that doesn't come out. I'll tell you what, if that list comes out, I definitely will be popping some sort of bottle. So it's not on.
Does he mean Percocet?
Percocet? You're talking about pain pills?
Popping a bottle of Percocet is a football player joke.
Hang
on, not to jump over you with one. I was teeing that up for next, but I do want to add this. It'll let me scroll. But where'd it go? I clicked on it. Jared. this
I
technology.
see it. Is
I
it
would have
this
already
one
had
with
this
Benny
article up to.
Johnson?
This is that's the other one. My screen is just spinning. Okay, I'm back. Let me try this again. Let me get rid of. Doggone it. Because the Jimmy Kimmel story, there is smoke there.
Yeah.
There is a reason why this was brought. Is that it? No,
Well,
that's
I've got
yours.
some other stuff. Maybe I've got it on mine. I can show you. There's a couple of
Oh,
other
about
connections.
Kimmel and the chef.
Yeah, I got that one. So it's from Liz Crokin. She's an investigative journalist, and she did Out of the Shadows about a lot of these sex trafficking victims. She's interesting to follow on Twitter, and she was calling out Jimmy Kimmel, saying, "Tell us more about your friendship with Frank Gustra, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and your involvement with the Clinton Foundation." And here is the other one: his close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein's former chef. Close pals, Adam Perry Lang. They have taken trips together, spent holidays together. Kimmel was the co-founder of Lang's restaurant. And then in 2019, Lang was handcuffed and placed in the back of a police vehicle after an 8-hour standoff in Hermosa Beach at a home that Kimmel owned. So police arrested him for weird. The police arrested him for felony criminal threats, calling 911, saying he had explosives, and they assaulted his girlfriend with a rifle, blah, blah, blah. Lang said he was unaware of Epstein's depraved behavior, but court records prove Lang often flew in Epstein's private jets to places like Florida and New Mexico and the Virgin Islands. All of the known hangouts of Epstein. And there is Jimmy Kimmel with Epstein's chef. And we also know Barack Obama's longtime chef, who died recently under suspicious circumstances, worked for him when he flew in these $65,000 worth of hot dogs and pizza for a White House party using clandestine channels. So what was Lang really cooking up for Epstein and his pedo pals? And why? And I'm going to go into the carnivore stuff. It's pretty disturbing. So who knows? Well, you wonder about this. And here's an interesting tweet just from Ellen DeGeneres. And why does her set look like Epstein's Island? Yeah, there's some creepy stuff going on.
I mean, it looks just like it. Yeah, I mean, it
looks
like if not a brother, a cousin. It might not be exact, but my God, it seems pretty obvious what they're putting there. Yeah, I listened to Adam Carolla yesterday while I was doing dishes, and he was talking about this Adam Perry Lang guy and how he sent him a couple of tomahawks, and he was telling him, step by step, this is how you cook them, and you got to use stadium mustard and this and that. I was pretty, I got to say, somewhat unfamiliar with all, but he was talking about the dinner, the holiday dinner that he has with Kimmel every year, and those guys are super tight. But yeah, I mean that Adam Perry Lang, like I was kind of unfamiliar with his name, but man, he's connected right there. You remember you had Anthony Bourdain talking about how much he hates the Clintons. God knows what he participated in,
and
with
allegedly witnessed something with Adam Schiff. I don't know if that's true. Standard Hotel and some weird stuff going on, but yes, Anthony Bourdain, very outspoken, and did not like the Clintons, and was probably murdered. I'm guessing. Not saying it's by the Clintons, but probably by some very powerful people.
Adam Perry Lang, Jeffrey Epstein's personal chef for years. And then that show was on Extra with their new restaurant. Interesting.
Yeah, so Kimmel was getting a lot of backlash. A lot of people are piling on, including Rob Schneider. Just, I mean, this is part of the reason that Aaron Rodgers, called him out in the first place, is because Jimmy Kimmel's been ripping him, over vaccine stuff. That the whole debate. But then that's when Jimmy Kimmel was saying that unvaccinated people shouldn't even get ICU beds in hospitals. So he said a lot of awful stuff. So
and Jimmy Kimmel, my God, I accidentally last year was scrolling through channels. I was in Austin, and after an evening out, Just kind of scrolling through the channels. I'm like, oh, what's this? All right, Kimmel. Holy crap. Was it the most vitriolic, anti-Trump, Trump derangement syndrome, unfunny, hack bullshit show I've ever seen. If he isn't taking marching orders from the deep state just to try to harm Trump, I mean, he has absolutely sacrificed trying to put on a watchable television program just to go on Trump attack mode. You've got to be kidding me. Yeah. Dreamer Ultra says chef has now cracked the top 10 list of dangerous jobs in 2023, 2024. Yeah. The Obama chef and now this chef.
But Anthony Bourdain, yes.
Anthony Bourdain, allegedly.
Still relevant.
Yeah, and I've been seeing more and more of the old Anthony Bourdain show clips on Facebook. So I've been watching like 10, 20-minute segments, pieces at a time. I've watched every show. Like I love watching him tour the globe and eat food and talk shit. And, you know, he's a wordsmith. He was one of America's finest authors and wordsmiths. I truly mean this. If you haven't read Kitchen Confidential and his other stuff, get the book and read it. He is an excellent writer. And when you watch him on the show, you hear him explaining and articulating stuff. It's very... it's great. It's great work that he did. You know, I don't know about any of the other stuff.
He was a great man. Died too young. And
yeah, I really appreciated the content, but it is interesting here. You know, digging through the Newsweek story about this, Adam Perry Lang. So, you know, where he was, you know, police responding, saying that he shot his girlfriend, and there's a rifle planted and several bombs around the house at Kimmel's place. Authorities came, and Lang's attorney claimed a fake 911 call was placed in a practice known as swatting. He was cleared of any wrongdoing, of course, but, you know, I guess that could go ahead and segue into the next topic here because, oh, wait, did we put swatting in the stack?
Yeah. Did I?
There you go.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
it is a relevant story. Huge.
Let's talk about this, Blake. That's a great, man, sometimes segues write themselves. Agree or disagree, Blake, that there should be special punishment for swatting opponents?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that people are able to anonymously call like the SWAT from, like, you know, just random numbers or whatever. I'm surprised they can't trace these calls and find out who's doing it. I don't know how they're doing that or why the SWAT would even take these claims seriously, but there is a ton of them. In fact, I had a lot of them just the other day, and it was on both sides, to be fair. That people were calling in SWATs on George Soros even. But it was against Jack Posobiec, his family, Tim Pool, I don't know, 13, 14 times. And then Laura Loomer, who got hit for the first time the other day. As I have this tweet, she says, finally got swatted, 20 police officers rolled up to her place. She wasn't home because somebody called their administration line and said that Laura had shot her girlfriend with an AR-15 and now she's going to shoot herself. The officers recognized the place because she's kind of a high-profile person, and she got lots of death threats when she ran for Congress. So they were able to go there. Nobody got hurt. But yes, there are tons of these. And I know there's more. I don't really have all of the people in front of me. But yes, this is becoming like a thing now where people do that. I can't imagine getting to that level. You know, you see people you disagree with, you know, go on Twitter and call Laura Loomer out if you don't like her, you know, prove her wrong, make a YouTube video exposing her. But I mean, to actually try to get her killed, like to make up some bullshit story and get somebody killed over it. You know, I don't think Tim Pool is that. I mean, Laura Loomer can be pretty aggressive and piss people off. I don't see that from Tim Pool, but I mean, the leftists just hate him for some reason, even though he encourages people to, you know, to have a civil debate and come on the show. They'd rather kill him. They swatted Tucker Carlson, like a lot of people. And I will condemn all of it. Even like somebody, they did it to George Soros too, which is also bad. Like, why would you need to resort to that? I don't get it, Brian. Things have changed much for the worse. I do not like these radical tactics. And now it's going to, when it's the kind of the never cry wolf. So when somebody actually needs the SWAT team, but I don't think you can. I think it's just going to ruin the credibility. People shouldn't take this seriously. And the SWAT and the FBI, I would think they've got to at least make sure that these calls are even credible before they're going to go send, taxpayer dollars and send a team out to somebody's house to go, presumably, with armed with rifles, and they're going to ready to shoot somebody. So yeah, it just kind of hurts everybody involved and kind of ruins the whole purpose of it. So yeah, it's too bad they can't find out who some of these people are, unmask them, and they need to be punished severely. They need to make an example of these people. So it sends a chilling message that you should never do this kind of thing. And it's so anti-American, so ridiculous that you can't have discourse or debate. Maybe get out of politics, get out of this. If it makes you so angry that you're going to try to get somebody killed, I don't get it. It's just so evil and gross. And to try to make a private call, I don't, to a SWAT team somewhere in another state where you're going to try to go dox them and find out where they live. I couldn't imagine going through with that. And it's disgusting, and it needs to stop.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I would maybe TP some houses. Like, we kind of had a thing with the football players and the cheerleaders, and we'd toilet paper some houses. Occasionally eggs or rocks, not me.
Ooh.
Not
right.
always.
How was Brian instigating it, getting everybody to do it? Hey, let's go egg this cheerleader's house. Let's throw rocks. Forget eggs. You throw rocks. I don't know, Brian. That sounds a little too extreme. Brian's like, no, this will be great. Bad boy Brian. Just kidding.
Well, yeah, I mean,
toilet, yeah, it's a pain to clean up, but that's amateur. It's high school stuff, and people grow out of that.
Yeah, and when we would make calls, there was a campaign for Depends, the undergarments, where you could crap your pants or whatever, and you could wear it. But yeah, so you could get
SNL video about that. Yes, oops, I crapped my pants.
Yeah, that's the one I instantly remembered there. It's funny what we remember. Oops, I crapped my pants. That was kind of a funny skit, but yeah, we would order 1-800-DEPENDS. I don't know if that's a real number. Somebody call that and see if it works again. 1-800-DEPENDS. And I remember sending our pastor some Depends. We just call up and you get with your name on it, and it's got adult diapers. It's just kind of funny. That's harmless. But these swatting techniques, man, this is attempted murder. There's nothing funny about this. This is pure attempted murder. And I did send this out to you and in our group chat, Blake. It's not like, I'm not saying we're on the level of whatever, but we have to be on a list. Would it be worth contacting our local police force and be like, hey, this is happening to journalists, this is happening to podcasters. I just want to let you know, if you get this call, please don't come in here guns blazing. This is turning into an epidemic. Not quite fentanyl, but something along those lines. Do you have any concern that this could happen to you, or you just think do you have any concern?
It's something that, it's a possibility. I'm not a big enough, personality to get really targeted that heavily, but that is a concern at some point. To get some wacko like Antifa or something that's going to try to, come after me, even though, they shouldn't have to resort to that. I'm get an open forum. I'll have you on the show. I'll talk to you on Twitter. We can, have a flame war or a civil discussion. I don't care, but there's no reason to resort to that sort of thing. But things are getting pretty heated here in 2024. So that might be that might be a measure at some point to as soon as you start getting under feeling the heat, or you start getting death threats and stuff like that, you get big enough where you're going to be targeted and trolled heavily, and you're going to get some pretty wacko people. Yeah, you should at a certain point probably talk to your police station and say, hey, if there's a swatting thing or happening, it's probably BS. Or at least if you're going to get a call, make sure you get the name and number and who it is, call them back, make sure it's actually credible before you go send out 20 armed officers to surround a house and potentially get somebody killed. So
absolutely. All right, kind of rapid fire round, here we go. Well, I had a great segue, Blake, which is probably why I skipped over this story, but I do want to circle back to it, pull a Jen Psaki, of course, because it is important, and I'm sure you had something in the stack. Agree or disagree that the deep state would start a war to distract us from the Epstein story?
Oh, absolutely. If it was going to be as damning as we were kind of thinking it could have been, I think they would absolutely take us to war as a distraction. If they had a really juicy list like we've seen with some of the major celebrities and politicians, or like Justice Roberts, like some heavy stuff, Adam Schiff, if they really had some of those names, big time names, I think we would almost immediately go to war. So here's you had Senator Lindsey Graham here wants Biden to go bomb Iran's headquarters. He's always wanting to get us into a war, and this isn't having anything to do with that particularly, but it's just this is how it could happen. That's just a scenario for that. So yes, they would absolutely, to save themselves and to get the Americans distracted, would start a war if they had to, for sure. Absolutely. That's all I have. That's our rapid fire on that one, Brian. What do you think? Agree or disagree? Would they start a war, or would they just manufacture? A lot of this stuff is, manufactured. Gulf of Tonkin. They could just blow up an embassy somewhere and blame it on Iran. It's not like people are going to go, "Hey, Iran would never do that," whatever. So they could easily get people into that.
100%. Yeah, it's just we're in such a weird spot right now. Nobody trusts anything, and honestly, they've lost all credibility. Everybody's lost credibility everywhere. You can't trust our government. You can't trust Iran. You can't trust other governments. You can't trust Canada. You can't trust Mexico. Mexico's sending us hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people. Canada has that dipshit Trudeau up there. Everything's screwed, but let's not take the black pill, Blake. Our ancestors went through way worse.
All right.
We'll figure a way out of this. I don't know exactly how, but we'll figure a way out of this. We just got to hold people accountable, and we got to limit the bullshit. All right. So moving on, let's continue talking about bullshit here, because Mr. Ray Epps. Yes, Mr.
Oh,
Ray
I thought
Epps.
you were going to talk about, you were just talking about the Mexico border, Canada. I thought you were going to go in that direction. Threw me for a loop.
So which one? Let's go to that one then.
Okay.
Sometimes, Blake, we operate, we function very well, like John Stockton to Karl Malone. I just kind of keep using that one because I think Stockton was the all-time assists leader. But sometimes you throw yourself your own assist off the backboard and you miss it. I set that segue up perfectly, and I just didn't even see it in front of me.
Drop the ball. It's a turnover to the other team, and they just hit a 3-point.
No. You followed up from behind, and you got the rebound and knocked it in. You got the points. So good job. Thanks for not letting me totally screw that one up. Okay, agree or disagree, Blake, that Secretary Mayorkas does not deserve the impeachment treatment?
No, he's a great humanitarian, and there's valid reasons for having the invasion. So he's going to be in trouble. But actually, there's a hilarious thing. I could have set this up for that question. Is Mayorkas is he's actually doing it for climate change. These people are migrating because it's just all climate change. They're escaping their wherever their country is because of whatever. Hurricanes, or it's just so ridiculous. This guy's got to be held accountable.
Full of it, dude. They are so full of it. Man, are they disingenuous pieces of trash, these these deep state Democrats that are pulling this stuff, to just the audacity to try to sell this. This is what's going on. No, it's Soros, it's Obama, it's the deep state, it's the globalists. It's trying to erase history. It's trying to topple tradition. It's trying to get rid of everything that makes us unique and make us this homogenous blend of God knows what. Screw those people. Oh, yeah, it's because of climate change. Also, we need a climate exchange in Chicago, and Al Gore will run that. And, you need to give up your cars. You'll own nothing and like it. And we're going to track you and trace you. You're going to rent everything. Screw these people. On every level, they're terrible. God, I hate those people.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, and it's weird watching him sit there and squirm and make excuses and act like they're doing something that when we're being invaded every day.
He's a traitor. He is a traitor. It is fucking obvious that he is going against this country, that he does not represent the laws of this country. He is an outsider. They have staged a coup. He needs to be impeached and charged with high crimes, misdemeanors, treason at the highest fucking level, Blake. What is taking people so long to impeach Harris? She's the border czar. Impeach Biden. He's behind all this, and his lackey, Mayorkas. What is taking so long? Both sides apparently want 15 million unvetted people, but you have to take off your shoes at the airport. They need to spy on your cell phone and your laptop. They need to be all up in your business. But no, everything else is fine to be chaos. It's totally fine, Blake. Let everything be chaos. But yeah, we need to make sure we track your credit card purchases. Fuck you. God, this irritates me beyond belief.
Yeah, too bad we don't have more time to get into this. But yes, the House is going to start impeaching proceedings. On Mayorkas next Wednesday. House Homeland Security Committee with the impeachment of Department of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas on January 10th. We have Marjorie Taylor Greene lobbying to be the impeachment manager against Mayorkas. Says, I am serious about this, and the only reason I am so serious is because Americans are dying every single day. We've got Elon Musk. This is from you, Brian. You retweeted this. Public should be made aware of this. The largest migrant caravan of 2023, known as the Poverty Exodus, recently departed from southern Mexico. It's 15,000 individuals from 24 different countries. Yet the Democrats are focused on, BS. They're acting like this isn't a big deal. We should go through some of the tweets where they act like this is not a thing, and it's weird that Republicans are even talking about it. But it's disgusting. There's just there's no good explanation for it. And yes, even MSNBC was talking about it with Mayorkas, and he responded by blaming climate change as one of the reasons. He says, I'm involved in...
I hate these people so much, Blake. I hate these people so much. They are so fucking full of it. God, these people are the worst people.
Right.
Mayorkas. God.
So they have to be held accountable. We've got the illegal immigration numbers with Ryan. I've only got like a minute left, so I'm just going to cruise through a couple of these things, and then you can carry us out. I'm not going to be able to get into a couple of them, but yes, the numbers are staggering. How many people are coming in, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. They could shut it down if they wanted, but they don't seem to be making any effort. So we have to find out why. Secret illegal migrant center exposed. This is from James O'Keefe. They got a refugee facility worker caught trying to bribe a journalist. What else do we have? How about Donald Trump writing a column about how he will end Joe Biden's border disaster on day one? So this will be one of the key reasons why we have to get Donald Trump in there to stop the hemorrhaging going on at the border, build the wall, whatever, stop the human trafficking before it gets any further. Brian, I won't have time to get into Ray Epps left, Vivek left, and of course, your beloved Michigan, Ohio. But yes, we were talking just real quick on Ray Epps. If they're only going to give him 6 months of prison for all the stuff that he did, then a lot of the people that are in prison right now in the DC gulag should be let out because they did way less, most likely, than Epps. So that's fine. 6 months seems fair. Then the other people should already have time served, and they should be out within a few months. If that's the new standard, that's what I would think. Do I have that one up there? Sorry, I didn't change to that tab. This one out of the Daily Wire, prosecutors recommending 6 months of prison. Brian, you can run the stuff because I'm sure you've got the Vivek story. So just real quick, I'll also point out.
I actually don't. I don't have the video queued up.
Then I will have to send it to you because I got to go. I'm up against the wall. But you're so JJ McCarthy, quarterback for Michigan, is saying that they only stole signs to even the playing field with Ohio State because they were the ones that were stealing signs before. So they only did the same thing.
JJ McCarthy, what a punk.
Oh, well, maybe. Well, you think that's maybe some truth to that? You think Ohio State, that's too above their program? They would never do that, and so it was not a retaliation.
No, they're upset. They're upset that they're going to win a national championship, perhaps, and they're going to have it stripped away in a couple months by the NCAA. And shame on the NCAA for allowing them to compete and take a spot from Florida State. They have no business being there. Their program should lose their scholarships and have a 2-decade bowl ban.
Florida State.
No, I don't buy anything. J. McCarthy. Yeah, Florida State was undefeated. They actually earned it.
What? No, they should have been in there. Are you kidding me? What are you, nuts? What an awful game that was against Georgia. They had no reason to.
Are you kidding me?
They lost their starting quarterback. They had no, just because they barely, at the very end of the season, they barely won their last game. They had no chance to fight. Look at how bad they got their ass kicked by Georgia. And you think that would have, how would they have beaten any of those other teams?
All of their players sat out the bowl game in protest. They were playing backups and third stringers. There was no starting. There were 3 or 4 starting players in that matchup. I don't know if it was 3 or 4, but a lot of those Kirby Smart came out and talked about it and said that they have to revamp the bowl season because all of Florida State sat out. They're trying to get out of their conference because they got screwed over so bad. And by the way, the Cleveland Browns are making a legitimate
Brian, I got to go. It's been a pleasure. You may carry it out. All right, you may have your
on a 5th quarterback. They lost their quarterback. Like, they got a shot. All right, Blake, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
All right, see you later.
Yeah, we have so many topics we could cover, Blake and I. So many topics. Yeah, football gets me fired up. But Florida State lost their quarterback. Tell it to the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns have the 2nd best record in football. And this Sunday, we'll be starting Jeff Driscoll, the 5th quarterback. The 5th quarterback to play and start a game for the Cleveland Browns. Okay? So there you go. Don't tell me Florida State lost their quarterback, so they didn't deserve to be in the national championship. I think Michigan, who proved that they were cheaters, definitely did not deserve one of those 4 spots. And it's a shame that they kept someone deserving like Florida State out to keep that team up north in. Anyway. Okay, sharing the screen here. Allegedly, I pressed the button. See if it will let me do this. What other stories are left here? What is this? Benny Johnson. Why am I in a different page? Okay, here we go. Johnson. Where the hell did the story go? Oh, it's over here, I guess. Sorry for that. Oh, I guess this was meant to be pulled up earlier. Never mind. But Benny was saying while Epstein court docs are being unsealed, a huge piece of the puzzle remains hidden. When FBI raided the Epstein estate, they seized a safe full of surveillance footage, tapes, and hard drives with incriminating evidence of Epstein's clients. But during the Maxwell trial, the court was told the safe and all the evidence, quote, went missing. What happened to the Epstein blackmail tapes? Agent Kelly McGuire testified that CDs and hard drives disappeared as authorities waited on a warrant to seize them. Yeah, you got to be kidding me. Don't just come on. Don't pee on our leg and tell us it's raining. Okay, want to get to this one from Vivek. Yeah, I mean, we barely touched on Ray Epps. That could have been our lead story, honestly. I guess maybe next time we'll try to dedicate some more information or more time to it. But Ray Epps, 6 months. They were not even going to charge Ray Epps. Implicated this guy is. That's how compromised this guy is. An informant, a Fed himself. Oh, no. He was just a regular guy. They would have thrown the book at him if he was a real person doing real things. I don't buy that for a second. And until the huge public backlash came out against Ray Epps, they were going to let him skate. Well, why isn't Ray Epps being charged? Why are these people suffering in a DC gulag for 2-3 years without a trial for walking around a building? You don't charge all the Hamas members that are out there waving their flags, disrupting all those proceedings, but you'll go after these. It's literally unbelievable. So don't tell us that Ray Epps didn't deserve an actual sentence when people who did far less, and I mean 1/500th less, they walked around and took some self. I'm sorry, 6 months for this guy? You got to be out your mind. They're trying to disqualify President Trump because he said go peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard at the Capitol. Keep him off the ballot. Oh, yeah, but give this guy 6 months. This guy who's instigating it the day before, the day of. He's the first one over there breaching the first barricade. I mean, come on with Ray Epps. Get out of here with that. All right, I do want to show you this. This was nice. I think Vivek is a very talented communicator and articulator. I think we need more sharp, smart, honest, powerful rhetoric. You know, I think President Trump can sometimes get caught up in the quagmire of, you know, a little bit of tit for tat, a little bit of bullying, a little bit of power debating. Not that I think it mattered, because I do think it was completely lopsided in 2020, and you know what they did to fortify the results, criminal beyond belief. But that being said, I didn't like how President Trump handled himself in the debates against Joe Biden. It's not the time to steamroll over him. Shut up and let him talk. Let Biden talk. Biden's a train wreck. The less you speak, the more he has to. That is a winning strategy when you have terrible ideas, terrible track record, zero credibility or honesty, and a dementia-ridden, brain-dead slob being pulled by Obama's puppet strings. Like, let Joe Biden talk. Please get out of your own way. So I do want to play this because, you know, you can trust Vivek. I don't care. It's time for Trump to get his second term already. Please, the sooner the better. But Vivek is bringing a lot of good stuff to the table. And in Iowa, caucus goers on yesterday, witnessed a legacy media. I'm glad they call them legacy media. We must retire the term mainstream media. There's nothing mainstream about them. Witnessed a legacy media reporter being obliterated by the most based presidential candidate in the GOP presidential primary outside of President Trump. As Mediaite reported, a female Washington Post reporter wanted Vivek Ramaswamy's take on the overhyped subject of white nationalism after former Representative Steve King, Republican from Iowa, endorsed him on Tuesday. King was repeatedly accused by the left of embracing white nationalism while in office and lost his seat in 2020 after being stripped of his committee member assignments over the issue. Wow. The outlet revealed the confrontation took place at a Wednesday campaign event in Scott County, Iowa. Well, I will let the rest of it speak for itself. Can I full screen this?
Do you condemn white supremacy and white nationalism?
I mean, hold on, Vivek. Hold on, trying to full screen. Everything's on like this weird, hazy delay. Okay, here we go. Let me turn the volume up. And Vivek Ramaswamy answering the dumbest question ever.
White supremacy and white nationalism?
I mean, what this guy? It's Washington Post. Potato. Okay. Of course, I condemn any form of vicious racial discrimination in this country. I think that the presumption of your question is fundamentally based on a falsehood that really is the main form of racial discrimination we see in this country today. Institutionalized racism is institutionalized racial discrimination that we see that doesn't discriminate against people on the basis of some tenet of white supremacy. It's based on affirmative action. It's based on actually discriminating against people on the color of their skin in a way that's actually institutionalized today. Was there a point in our history, at points in our prior national history, where there have been vicious forms of anti-black or anti-brown discrimination throughout this country after the Civil War and otherwise? Yes. But you're looking in the rearview mirror and using that to pose a question today that is so far removed from what the reality is in America today. This myth of white supremacy, the closest you can find is Jussie Smollett, where you all were actually, speaking of trust in the media, jumping up and down over some false narrative. The best way you were able to find your best instance of white supremacy was a guy who was actually paying his other fellow people to be actually staging something that didn't happen.
That's a great way to answer that question. There must be a second. How do I get out of this stuff? Minimize the screen. There we go. But there was a different video. Yeah, that was. There's more to this. Here's a second.
I'm not going to recite some catechism for you. I'm against vicious racial discrimination in this country. So I'm not pledging allegiance to your new religion of modern wokeism, which absolutely fits the test. I'm not going to bend the knee to your religion. I'm sorry. I'm not asking you to bend the knee to mine, and I'm not going to bend the knee to yours. But do I condemn vicious racial discrimination? Yes, I do. Am I going to play your silly game of gotcha? No, I'm not. And frankly, this is why people have lost trust. And I know you're going to go print the headline tomorrow. I already know this. We already know how your game works. Vivek Ramaswamy refuses to condemn white supremacy because you asked a stupid question. The reality is, I condemn vicious racial discrimination in this country, but the kind of vicious and systematic racial discrimination we see today is discrimination on the basis of race in a very different direction. You want to know what the best way is to end discrimination on the basis of race? Stop discriminating on the basis of race. Do that, and we're this country forward. And I don't care whether you're black or white or anything in between. That's how we're going to unite this country. You people have been responsible for dividing this country to a breaking point, creating a projection of national division. I meet people from the south side of Chicago to meetings like this one of every shade of melanin, multiple, from man to woman, doesn't make a difference, who are hungry for reviving unity in this country. And you, with your catechism that you try to get as politicians to whatever fake headline you're going to print on the basis of this conversation tomorrow, that's what's dividing this country to a breaking point. Shame on you. Look people in the eye and tell them what you've actually failed to tell them for the last 5 years. Own the accountability for your own failures as the media. That's how we rebuild trust in this country. And until then, I don't have a lot of patience to play the games.
Yeah, I mean, he crushed it. He crushed that answer. Absolutely obliterated that answer. More of this energy is needed across the board. 100%. Dreamer says he forgives Trump for his debate performance. He had just dealt with the pandemic and he knew he was about to have something stolen in November. Yeah. I mean, did he know that they were going to fortify things to the level that they did? I don't know if he actually knew, because what they did was unprecedented. And that leads me to another story. I want to touch on this as well. Talking about the vote here. Let's discuss, shall we? This is True the Vote. They have won an intimidation case in Georgia. Let's go to this story here. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution from January 2nd, 2024. Okay, this is the one. True the Vote wins intimidation case over Georgia voter challenges. Judge finds the conservative group didn't violate the Voting Rights Act. It's amazing. Trying to get transparency on an election, trying to find out who is registered that shouldn't be, who voted absentee but that no signature verification occurred, trying to figure out who voted twice, who voted but they're not allowed to vote because they're felons, who voted even though they live in a different state. Amazing that people are trying to demonize accountability. It's just astonishing. A federal judge ruled Tuesday in favor of the conservative group True the Vote, deciding that mass challenges of Georgia voters' eligibility didn't amount to illegal voter intimidation. Didn't amount to illegal voter intimidation. There we go. Wow, it's really looking dire. Case against Trump for trying to challenge the Georgia voters' eligibility. U.S. District Judge Steve Jones wrote in a 145-page order that there was insufficient evidence that True the Vote tried to threaten or coerce voters. Oh, geez. Is this going to be a... Well... all right. Well, they want you to log in, and I'm not going to log in. So I'll just put that out there as a headline for you to go dig a little bit deeper into. And then just related to that, I think it's a C here. Oh, by the way, unfortunately, breaking news. Police say a 17-year-old idiot offed a 6th grader and wounded 5 in an Iowa school shooting. Unfortunately. No names. Don't need to advertise that. Much more than we just did. This is from about a month or maybe a month and a half ago. Compromise in an election security lawsuit over Georgia's voting equipment, but without an agreement, she ordered a trial scheduled to begin this month. U.S. District Judge Amy Totenberg wrote an order back in mid-November, just because it's related to that the public might be better served outside the court valley between Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and plaintiffs opposed to the state's touchscreen voting system. Reasonable, timely discussion and compromise in this case, coupled with prompt, informed legislative action, might certainly make a difference that benefits the parties and the public, Totenberg wrote. Totenberg said she won't order Georgia to use hand-marked paper ballots, even if the plaintiffs prevail during the trial set to begin in just 5 days from now. But why shouldn't she? If you can't audit it, it shouldn't be trusted. She said it's not within her power to mandate a new statewide voting system that would replace equipment manufactured by Dominion voting systems. Doesn't matter who manufactures it. It's not a specific claim to Dominion. It's a claim against the technology that we can't trust. We can't check. We can't verify. We can't confirm that it's offline 100% of the time. We can't confirm that it's not, it doesn't have, we don't have the source code. In a lot of cases, a lot of states handle this slightly differently. But if you don't have the source code, if you can't verify this, if you can't run your independent audit, they could change votes in real time. There's a million things that could happen. And any of these machines, I mean, the number one thing that you should be doing is making sure that you pull the plug on whatever it is inside of that system, an internet router box or a Wi-Fi component that allows it to connect to the internet. That has to be taken out. These machines, it's been alleged, and I believe it's been proven in cases where they've connected to the internet. If they're online, they can be hacked. These are obvious things where here we are 3 years later, and we're still talking about this stuff. Paper ballots, nice and easy. Put them in a box of 1,000. You can recount them as you will. You have a Republican and a Democrat, both double check the amount. You stack the boxes, you pack them, and you store them for a while. And if there's a specific reason where a vote recount is requested, you check them. In super rare cases only, if you absolutely need to vote absentee, God, you got to do the signature verification. You really have to cleanse the voter rolls. You cannot send votes out to every single human that lives in your state. It's only the people that have requested them that are actual voters. And no, you can't do it by proxy, and you can't go around harvesting them. You can't grab stacks that haven't. There's a million reasons. In the rare case that an absentee ballot should be used, it should be signature verified and double checked. Period. Georgia currently uses a voting system where voters fill out their ballots on touch screens, which are attached to printers that create a paper ballot. The ballot displays voters' choices in human readable text along with a QR code that is read and counted by scanning machines. Critics of the technology say voters can't be sure that the code accurately reflects their selections. recounts and audits in Georgia have routinely confirmed the accuracy of vote counts. Oh, has it now? Let's dig a little deeper, shall we? Judge Totenberg proposed eliminating the QR codes currently used to count paper ballots, holding more election audits, and implementing cybersecurity measures. Let's just go to paper ballots. Just because they print something, like how often is it being followed up on and counted? Like, how do you run a count? In batches of what the computer says versus what the print off says. Who's to say they're not being changed in real time? Paper ballots. It's super easy. Just do it. One day, single day voting. No nonsense, no shenanigans, please. I did want to talk about this. It's kind of important. I would have cared to get Blake's take on it. Because these Ivy League professors, they're very, I don't know, squirrely. Kind of, they're just calling for intifada. That's not violent. They're just calling from the river to the sea. They don't want them eradicated like cockroaches. Yeah, they are. That's exactly what it means. Don't play word games with us. And when these Ivy League presidents were put up on stage, they refused to condemn what was going on their campuses. And it's been pretty overwhelming and swift. I think rightfully so, but this is breaking from... I guess this was 2 days ago now. We haven't talked since. Harvard President Claudine Gay resigned amid plagiarism allegations and leadership criticism. So, yeah, it was the leadership criticism that got her. Straight on casting. Facing mounting pressure from lawmakers and university donors to step down or be fired, former Harvard President Claudine Gay announced her resignation. Oh, how nice she didn't have to get fired. Harvard President Claudine Gay announced her resignation from the Ivy League school on Tuesday following criticism of her handling of anti-Semitism on campus and new allegations of plagiarism in her academic work. It really reminds you of what Joe Biden did back in 1987, I believe. There's a lot of plagiarism going on. And I would bet if you ran these dissertations and stuff through the AI algorithms, you would find so much of this happening. So much plagiarism. And it's not necessarily the say all end all be all, but it's a component here. It's a component that has to be focused on. It's a part of the puzzle. Gay released a statement announcing her resignation, saying her decision follows consultation with members of the university's governing board. In the statement, Gay, Harvard's first Black president, said it has become clear that it is in the best interest of Harvard for me to resign so that our community can navigate this moment of extraordinary challenge with a focus on the institution rather than the individual. Word salad. Gay has faced criticism over allegations of plagiarism, including in her 1997 dissertation with conservative scholar Carol Swain, accusing Gay last month of stealing her work without appropriate citation. Harvard officials said last month Gay will update her dissertation to include 3 citations. And new plagiarism allegations were published Monday in the conservative Washington Free Beacon. Gay has also faced heavy pushback, and it was mainly the pushback because of her in the wake of Israel's war with Gaza-based militant group Hamas and a series of student-led protests largely critical of Israel, including from billionaire hedge fund manager Bill Ackman and billionaire investor Len Blavatnik, with Ackerman leading the charge for Gay's resignation and Blavatnik putting a pause on his donations to the school. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle have criticized Gay's leadership following a tense congressional hearing on campus anti-Semitism last month, with a group of 72 House Republicans and 2 House Democrats to Pennsylvania and Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Gay came under fire for her response to a question in that hearing from Representative Elise Stefanik, a Republican from New York, who asked whether calls for the genocide of Jewish people would violate Harvard's policies on bullying and harassment, with Gay responding, such speech could constitute a violation depending on the context. and if the speech is targeted at an individual. Harvard Chief Academic Officer Alan Garber will take over as interim president effective immediately, the university announced. Gay apologized for her response in the House hearing last month and struck back at her critics by saying some have confused a right to free expression with the idea that Harvard will condone calls for genocide against Jewish students. Gay also hit back in her resignation letter. In that letter, Gay said, "It has been distressing to have doubt cast upon my commitments to confronting hate and to upholding scholarly rigor, calling those principles bedrock values that are fundamental to who she is." Gay also wrote that it had been frightening to be subjected to personal attacks and threats fueled by racial animus. Wow, shoe on the other foot, huh? Oh, you get a little taste of that medicine and suddenly you don't like it, but you're totally fine with the hummus cheerleaders trying to call for the eradication of Jews. Okay. That is just interesting, isn't it? In addition to resignation calls and accusation of plagiarism, Gay had also faced claims that she was hired late last year due to the color of her skin. Though those accusations have been met with criticism. They call that a DEI hire now. You see it all across the Biden White House. Pete Buttigieg has no background in transportation, but now he's the transportation secretary. Well, he checks a couple of boxes here. We talked about Hunger Games earlier. The White House, it's turned into the Hunger Games White House, straight out of Central Casting. It just kind of seems like the DEI hires, if they check certain boxes, it doesn't matter if you're qualified, doesn't matter if you're competent, doesn't matter if you're talented. It matters if you're of a particular checkbox. Yep, you're this, you're not that. You're not this, but at least you're not that. Okay, well, you had enough checks. We'll put you in. In a tweet last month, Ackman, a Harvard alumnus, claimed Harvard refused to consider a candidate who did not meet the school's DEI criteria. Okay, I didn't even read that far, but that's exactly what I was saying. Those claims come as colleges and universities face increased scrutiny. No, it's outrage and it's rejection. It's a full repudiation, might I add, over recently implemented diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI programs with some lawmakers and major university donors, arguing that those initiatives do not adequately address issues of anti-Semitism, how about anti-whiteism too, anti-manism, anti-Christianism, anti-straightism. It isn't just about anti-Semitism, it's about all of the things. And Elon Musk, thankfully, is being very vocal, calling for the removal of DEI immediately because it is exclusionary, because it is racist, because it is sexist, because it is all of the things that the left claims that they're not. Oh, they are. It just has to be against certain people. Very vindictive against certain people. Like evil, white, privileged men, straight men. But they think that's okay. You know, exclusion. Well, what's the opposite of diversity? Lack of diversity, non-equity, and disclusion. Exclusion. There we go. This has been a major sticking point for some university donors in recent months, though Harvard said in November it would expand its DEI program to cover anti-Semitism. Well, all right, like I said, cover all the other anti-isms, and then you're back to square one because you can't discriminate against white, straight, Christian men. I mean, you know, who else are you allowed to discriminate against today? I guess anti-Semitism, they're off the map. Who's left? Man, it's just such a vicious racial animus, and this stuff has really blossomed once Barack Hussein Obama entered the scene, and his vitriol, his anger towards specific groups of people. It's so obvious how this is permeated through academia, through the government, and it's wrong. I'm old enough to remember a time we were taught you're supposed to judge the content of a person's character, not worry about the color of their skin. Let me include, don't worry about the color of their skin. Don't worry about who they like rubbing up against in the evening, in sexy time. Don't worry about which version of the flying spaghetti monster that person worships. You know, that's supposed to be a thing. You're just supposed to kind of judge people based on who they are. But this DEI stuff is the exact opposite. It is exclusionary. It's illegal. It's unconscionable. It's immoral. But they worship it. They you know, what did Vivek say? I'm not going to take your catechism. That's an interesting way to phrase that. You know, I'm not going to join your woke religion, and I'm not going to ask you to join mine. So how about drop it, would you? Seems like people are really against this stuff. It's been pretty summarily rejected unilaterally. It's just a shame it's gone on this far, because it's so against the precepts, the conditions with which this country was supposed to be built upon, and all the things we've been striving toward. To take such major steps backward, to be so focused on such irrelevant criteria, it's disheartening. And it must be spoken out against. So the agree to disagree question was that this is, I don't know how I phrase it, relevant or irrelevant, that it's important that Claudine Gay has left. I don't know. I think it's super important. I think it's one of the most important issues of our day, in all honesty. I think it is a big deal. So I'm going to agree that her resignation is a big deal. And I wish they would have just called it a firing. You know, it's kind of cowardly. Kind of cowardly to let her resign. But hey, good riddance to bad garbage. Next. And we will pause for now and ask you to join us on our next episode of the Agree to Disagree show on the New American Media, because the old American media has failed you. Please hit the star button or the like button or the heart button. Hit it a couple thousand times real quick. Just kind of tap it on your phone or on the screen, or, you know, click the mouse, whatever, however you do that. Subscribe. All that stuff helps the algorithm. So youtube.com/the New American Media is one of the main places we are. Also, Spotify. We have our podcast, The Agree to Disagree Show. Subscribe. Watch some episodes there, please. Rumble. Search The New American Media and subscribe. Also, Telegram, TNAM and TNAM Chat. TNAM and TNAM Chat. TNAM is for The New American Media, of course. On X, we are at American_media_. Don't forget Truth Social. Truth Social, The New American Media. Facebook, do quotation marks, TNAM''S, The Agree to Disagree Show. It's a private group. There'll be a question. How did you find our show? Say, Brian invited me. Also on Instagram, we are the New American Media. Signal, we're TNAM and TNAM Chat, or find us there. All the places, please. And special thanks to Blake Walley for joining us today. He's on X at TV's Blake Walley, WALLEY, and thenextlevelnews.com. So we will pause for now. I appreciate every one of you contributing to the show with your comments and commentary, questions and concerns. Thank you so much. And we will be back on Tuesday, same bat channel. What did they say? Same bat time, same bat channel. But yeah, we'll be back next week. And I'll try to crank out some content in between. Maybe do some shorts. I have a lot of sports shows I'm going to do for the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. So keep your eyes peeled for that if that's your cup of tea. But yeah, the Cleveland Browns are headed toward the playoffs. And it's a really exciting time because I'm a huge Cleveland Browns fan. And I've been covering this team since I've been doing the Agree to Disagree show. And this is the best team we've had since I've been covering them. And it's pretty exhilarating. I know in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. But as comedian Mike Polk famously said while yelling at the Cleveland Browns stadium, and I know there's more important things to life in football, but you were supposed to be my pleasant distraction from those things. You were supposed to be my pleasant distraction from the harsh realities of this terrifying, disheartening, frustrating world. But unfortunately, I used to have to, my joke was I used to have to escape the unpleasant, world of Cleveland sports to delve into the slimy underbelly of politics. That's how bad Cleveland sports have been traditionally. Hence the name, the unhappy hour, not the happy hour. But it's a good time to do that. And I'm going to knock some of that content out as well. So anyway, signing out for Blake and myself here at the New American Media. My name's Brian Engelman. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care.